A sunny day in a quiet town, 10-year-old Justin Witter says goodbye to his friends and heads home through the forest. The boy picks up speed on the deserted path, but suddenly the bicycle brakes and a mysterious force pulls Justin back. Strange events are not limited to the park. As night falls, someone walks through the rooms in Detective Greg Harper's house, watching the sleeping residents. In the morning, Jackie Harper prepares breakfast for her husband and the son. Her phone rings, but she declines the call. This makes Connor angry. He knows that his mother cheated on his father and that the family has been having conflicts for a long time. Greg gets up only after his wife leaves for work. He asks his son not to interfere in their relationship with his mother, and the men finish breakfast in silence. Going upstairs, the detective notices an empty photo frame but does not pay much attention to it. A few minutes later, his wife calls, and only then does Greg let out his emotions. In anger, he throws the phone out the window and breaks it. Inspecting the damage, the cop notices Jackie's mug with cigarette butts on the roof. He suspects that his wife's friend was in the house but decides not to start a new quarrel while the woman is at work. Instead, the detective goes to the station and gets information on a new case. Justin's disappearance is very similar to a recent abduction, and Harper needs to find out if these events are connected. The police go to the crime scene, hoping to find clues. Meanwhile, Jackie returns home. She notices the empty cutlery drawer and calls her son to find out why he took the utensils. But instead of Connor, an unfamiliar man, a window repairman called by Greg, comes out to meet her. Seeing the repairman off, the woman asks who let him into the house and learns that it was a girl who introduced herself as her daughter. Jackie calls her husband to tell him everything, but Harper declines the calls, not wanting to deal with his wife during work. The detectives hear an expert scream and discover a green folding knife, the same kind left by the maniac 15 years ago. This shocks the police. The previous criminal was caught and sentenced to life imprisonment. At dinner, Connor starts a scandal again, accusing his mother of cheating. The teenager leaves the table and does not let Jackie explain herself. The woman stays in the kitchen alone, and suddenly the TV turns on by itself. Attempts to turn it off fail. Someone is making sure the woman hears the news about the missing teenager. Returning from work, Greg behaves like his son. He does not listen to his wife's story about someone stealing their silverware. Instead, he goes upstairs, noticing that another frame is empty. The man takes sleeping pills, but his attention is caught by an escaped hamster. Greg tries to catch it and ends up in his son's bedroom closet. Suddenly, someone closes the door behind him and wedges it. Harper is sure it's Connor's unsuccessful prank, but when Jackie opens the door, it turns out the boy is not at home. All this seems strange to the detective, and he goes down to find the person who tried to scare him. Not finding the culprit, Greg returns to the room, and he and Jackie discuss the family problem. They fail to reach an agreement. The man leaves, saying he will stay in the guest bedroom. Jackie wakes up in the middle of the night from a loud noise. She enters Connor's room, who is still not there, and turns off the computer. The boy catches his mother when she is collecting things scattered on the floor. The woman notices a strange gorilla mask under the bed, but to avoid angering her son, she doesn't touch it and leaves. Greg is also not alone. Someone pulls the blanket off him while the cop is sound asleep. Waking up, Harper notices a wet spot on the bed. Secretly, he takes the sheet to the washing machine to hide his shame. At the office, Harper learns that the criminal's lawyers insist on a review. They believe the real maniac is free and abducting children again. The detectives are assigned to interrogate two boys who escaped 15 years ago. The cops manage to find only one guy, Tony. After the attack, he lost his mind, and when the police ask him questions, the boy starts screaming. Harper has to listen to old recordings of Tony's interrogation, but there are no clues there either. The victim could not describe the criminal or name him. There's a knock on the door, and Jackie sees Todd, a friend with whom she had an affair, on the threshold. The woman doesn't let the guest into the house and tells him she no longer wants to continue the relationship, but the man doesn't have time to leave. Someone throws a heavy mug from the roof, hitting his head. The woman has to take Todd to the basement to treat his wound. Meanwhile, Connor hears footsteps in the house and leaves his room. Jackie's phone starts ringing, and she sees Todd's number, who is sitting next to her. The woman answers the call and hears music from her living room. To avoid a scandal, Jackie asks her friend to wait while she takes her son to school. On the way, the woman tries to find out why Connor threw the mug, but the boy doesn't understand what she's talking about. Leaving, Jackie encounters her neighbor, Justin's mother. The frightened woman tries to get news about her son, and Jackie promises that Greg will surely find him. Todd stays in the basement alone. He looks around and doesn't notice someone approaching him with a baseball bat. Harper and his partner Spitsky go back to the crime scene. This time, they find a thread stretched across the road to stop the bicycle. Returning home, Jackie finds Todd's body. She tells her husband everything and admits she suspects Connor of the crime. To save their son, the detective loads the body into the car, and together with Jackie, they take it to the forest. Passing the highway, the woman sees the search for the missing teenager continuing. Connor stays home alone and spends the evening at the computer. While his parents are digging a hole, the boy hears a strange noise and finds the stolen cutlery in the washing machine. The strange events don't stop there. Connor returns to his room and sees a message from an anonymous sender offering to learn what frogging is. While the teenager is Googling, the sender in a mask appears behind him. The Harpers return home to a new shock. Jackie finds her son in the bathroom with tied hands and unconscious. Next to him is a green folding knife. Greg sends his wife and son to the hospital and promises to find the person who did this. Meanwhile, Spitsky receives a signal that the kidnapper has been seen by witnesses. Greg takes out his gun and cautiously inspects the house. In the attic, he discovers a wall covered with photos of missing boys. Downstairs, someone turns on the music and the cop heads there. In the dark living room, an unknown person in a gorilla mask attacks him. A few days before the incident, Mindy and her friend Alec wait for Jackie's car to leave the garage, then the couple breaks into the house. The visitors look around, admiring the expensive things and equipment. After that, Mindy invites the operator to the guest room and gives her first interview. The girl talks about them being froggers, intruders who like to live in other people's houses without the owner's knowledge. Until today, the girl always acted alone, but Alec was very persistent and convinced her to take him with her. The next report the company records from the attic. Mindy says the owners have returned home and it's time to be careful. The main rule of frogging is not to give yourself away, but when Mindy falls asleep, Alec breaks the law and leaves the hiding place. The boy walks through the rooms watching the sleeping residents. He is most drawn to the head of the household, Detective Harper. The same breakfast that started it all takes place in the morning, and while Jackie argued with her son in the kitchen, Alec sat by the open window, risking being caught. Mindy became nervous about her friend's strange behavior, but he assured her that everything would go smoothly. The couple's conversation was interrupted by the sound of breaking glass when Greg threw his cell phone. After this, the illegal guests had to hide. The owner passed by them to retrieve Alec's mug with cigarette butts. When the Harpers left for their errands, the couple was able to come downstairs again to eat and hide their belongings in the basement. At the same time, Alec showed his friend his trick. He hacked the system to turn on the TV from his smartphone. When the repairman knocked on the door, Mindy had to pretend to be the homeowner's daughter to avoid drawing attention. While the girl was doing this, Alec set a trap for her. He added sleeping pills to Greg's water so his friend wouldn't interfere with his fun anymore. After Jackie arrived, the intruders hid in the attic, where Alec gave his friend the drugged water. When the girl fell asleep, the psycho went downstairs again. First, Alec released the hamster and locked Harper in the closet. Then he hid under the bed, where he was almost found by the homeowner. When everyone fell asleep and Alec could leave Connor's room, he went to Greg's bedroom and made the wet spot, hoping to insult and scare the detective. Upon waking up, Mindy learned about the wet bed and everything Alec had done. This greatly frightened the girl, and she reminded her friend of the rules again. But at that moment, he dropped the mug from the roof, and the situation went too far. Connor hears the footsteps and voices of the intruders and gets up to check everything. The couple manages to stay unnoticed, but Mindy insists that they should leave. The game has become dangerous, and they could end up in jail. Jackie is getting ready to take her son to school, and Mindy goes down to the basement to retrieve her belongings. She almost runs into Todd but manages to hide. The girl watches the man, fearing he will find her backpack, and witnesses the fatal blow. Mindy recognizes the attacker's face. It is Detective Greg Harper. After dealing with the rival, Greg hides the bat and the large bag in the trunk. Then the cop gets into Spitsky's car but says nothing about what happened in the house. While the girl examines the body and retrieves her backpack, Alec continues to have fun. He cuts out the faces of the missing boys from magazines to hang on the attic wall. Mindy doesn't have time to go upstairs. Jackie returns to the basement. The Frogger witnesses the conversation between the husband and wife. She doesn't dare come out of hiding and tell Jackie who the real criminal was. Mindy only comes out when everyone leaves. She tries to find her friend to quickly get out of the strange house, but the girl finds Alec in a terrible state. He ties up Connor and acts insane. The girl is about to call the police, but Alec doesn't let her. He pushes his friend down the stairs, and she loses consciousness. To cover up the crime, the psycho takes Connor to the bathroom, hides his friend's body in Greg's car trunk, and tries to steal it but doesn't have time. The Harpers return home. When his wife and son leave for the hospital, Greg gets behind the wheel, unaware that Mindy is in the trunk. Alex stays alone in the house. On the way, the girl comes to her senses and looks around. She opens the bag Harper recently placed there along with the bat and finds a bag of green folding knives in Justin's missing shirt. The car stops in the forest and Mindy manages to escape. She moves to a safe distance and calls the police, but due to poor signal, she fails to explain the correct address. After walking a few more steps, Mindy notices a trailer with covered windows. The girl enters and hears the voices of children, but she doesn't have time to help them. Greg attacks her from behind, knocking her out with a bag. The detective brings the girl back to the car and watches the recordings from her camera. An excellent idea occurs to him, and the cop takes the intruder back to his house. Alec watches as the owner returns with the girl, but the guy lacks the courage to come out of hiding. He hears Greg reviving Mindy and ordering her to stand. It becomes obvious to everyone what the policeman intends to do. When Mindy complies, Greg pulls the trigger. Now he can present everything as if he was defending his home from burglars. The cop also fires several shots at the wall to simulate danger. Then Harper goes in search of the second thief, but Alec, armed with an axe, strikes first. A fight breaks out between the men, during which Greg rips off the guy's mask but doesn't recognize his face. For a moment, the older man gains the upper hand, and when Alec loses consciousness, he leaves him to harm himself later and blame the criminal. But Alec is cleverer. He finds the cop's gun and points it at Greg. Harper tries to convince Alec not to pull the trigger, but the guy isn't afraid of severe punishment. A shot rings out in the darkness, and the detective maniac falls to the floor. There's a knock on the door, and Spitsky breaks in. He sees his partner's body, and without hesitation, takes out the guy holding the gun. Closing his eyes, Alec manages to speak to the policeman, and Spitsky recognizes the guy. The house is surrounded by police and ambulances. At the same time, a squad rescues the boys from the forest trailer. Inspecting the old friend's car, Spitsky finds evidence and realizes that the real criminal had been close to him all these years. When Jackie and Connor return home, the old family friend tells them the truth. Alec was the second boy who managed to escape 15 years ago, and he returned to take revenge on the maniac. Now Connor will have to realize that his mother's infidelity was not the most terrible secret of their happy family.